guys, welcome back to another episode of Setting the Atmosphere podcast with Hippie Girl TK. Nice to see you again. If you are here for the first time, if this is your first episode, you're seeing me in a different way because I normally have locks. This was my second time growing my locks because I've shaved my head before but not completely bald. So you're getting a new version of me on a new timeline. If you are coming back, you've seen the transition. If you follow me on any of my social media platforms, like I put the story out there of how this came about. And this really came about for me healing my crown. Ever since I was little, I remember being 2 years old and my auntie Diane was my spirit guide now. She's like my second mom. She used to wash my hair with this shampoo called Nizoral. You used to can get it over the counter, but now if you go to the dermatologist, like you have to have a prescription for it. But it's because I had seborrheic dermatitis in my scalp, behind my ears, around my nose, and my eyebrows. You might see different forms of seborrheic dermatitis in babies. They call it cradle cap. But it's not like your typical like dandruff. It's not dandruff at all. Your actual scalp is scaling off in very big chunks. It leaves like discoloration of the skin. The skin is highly dry. It could get inflamed in your head, feel like it's burning, or the area of your skin that's affected by it feel like it's burning, like on fire. It creates sores and different things like that. So I have been dealing with that pretty much my whole life at different points, some better than the other. Try drinking, increase my water intake. That helps. Switching up my diet, stay away from sugary things, staying away from alcohol and wine and different things that promotes this overgrowth in the pH in my scalp, which results in the inflammation, the itching, the dryness, the scaling, the peeling, all of that stuff. So I had been dealing with that for years. Like I said, this was my second go around of locks because I had shaved my head before. That's when I was wearing a little blonde hair. And so now, like, I cut my hair off because I wanted to loose myself of energy and death that was attached to my crown. As you guys know and I speak about quite often, because I'm still going through and still healing from the passing of my great loves in my life, from my grandma, my granddad, my two dads, and like I said, my auntie Diane, who was like my mom, my Uncle David, my mom's best friend, Mr. Carr, from SSAS, the graphic design, the filmmaker, the ultimate artsy musician. That was my Uncle David. He passed away too, all in this last year in 2023. So I wanted to rid myself of all of that energy and all of that death and different things that I was just hanging on to, because our hair is like tentacles and they're like antennas. So it's like we receive a lot of information and a lot of information goes out from our crown. So I wanted to just have a clean slate in my new space of healing from certain parts of grief with the loss of my greatest loves. So that's why I cut it, and I cut it just short. I wanted a cute little pixie type of vibe so I could do the little finger waves, and that was working for me. I loved it. I thought it was really cute. It was black. I didn't dye it blonde, so it was a different look for me, you know what I'm saying, and I really fell in love with it. But what came with that was me using spritz and hairspray and 3 different gels and edge controls and tying it down real tight with a do-rag and just doing very harsh things to my already very delicate scalp, because when I had my locks in my head, it was just oils that I made, oils that my mom made, spraying clove water on my hair, banana water, different things to hydrate and moisturize. So I didn't put no product in my hair, only on my edges if I wanted to be cute. So all of that was happening on my scalp, and baby, that scalp got mad at me because it was so inflamed, it was flaking up, all kind of things was happening. So I was just in my house one day, and I was just like, I'm just gonna cut it off and just let my scalp breathe, let my scalp heal. And y'all, I fell in love with my bald head. At first it was very, 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 very scary, because like I'm completely balding. Anybody that knows my biological dad, his name is Tyrone Jenkins. They called him Fly Tie in Sarasota. He had a bald head, and so I feel like I'm channeling my dad right now. I look more like him. I look just like my mom, but I feel like I look like my dad right now by default, because we're both bald, and I actually would have liked to see him to see me bald. He probably would have yelled at me for sure. Why you cut your damn hair? Like, he probably would have, but Daddy, I'm bald. So I like this look. I like the energy that comes with it. It's giving Avatar. It's giving Woman King. It's giving Dahomey Tribe. It's giving Black Panther. It's giving Warrior. It's giving Bear. And I really, really needed that, because we live in such a superficial world. And I live in a world where I'm trying to be as real as possible and show up as my authentic self, but people still attach. And I even still attach myself to certain personality traits, certain looks, certain aesthetics, when it's like, it isn't an aesthetic for me. It's my life. It's how I live. And I express through my hair, through my nails, through my makeup, through my clothes, where I am that day. So I wanted to strip away the persona of me being the hippie girl, and me being very much tied to, you know, my sister group, you know, with Akira and Kelly, and, you know, who we were then and who we are now. And we're all in different, very different spaces now. And I needed to identify outside of a look and outside of a group, the hippies, and then, you know, my long locks, you know, when I was doing my lock extensions, and even rocking my natural locks that were, you know, to my shoulder. I was very proud of that. And even attaching it to, like, you know, my past relationship. Like, he loved my locks, you know what I'm saying? So just literally just starting clean for me, and detaching and disassociating with a look, a feel that was comfortable for other people to classify me in, that was comfortable for other people to tolerate me in, and just starting over. So now that we have that out of the way, I love it. I just feel better. It's just a new energy. I feel very beautiful and radiant being bald. And like I said, I'm tapping into new energies that I'm working with. And I love it. So that's just a little bit of backstory of why my last episode I had my lock extensions, because I very much had my locks under it, and then I just cut them off. And I rocked the pixie thing for maybe like 2 weeks, and then that's gone. And yeah, I like this. My mama slapped my neck at Amira's award ceremony. Amira is my niece. And my mom, this was the last quarter. Like I said, we're in May. I don't know if I said that, but we're in May. We're at the end of the school year. So my mom wanted to come to her grand girls renaissance. So Aria's was one day, Toots was another day. Toots was first. Two is Amira, sorry. And so my mom went to school for cosmetology and nail tech. Fun fact about Nina, she really was like that. She taught me everything I know about hair, nails, skincare, all those things. She's an OG. I have been getting acrylic nails since I was 5 years old. I'm talking about kindergarten with the full set. Don't judge my mama. And that's when my addiction to nails came into play. But now it's like manifested and changed, because I mentioned this on a podcast episode before. I don't like getting my nails done anymore. So I'll be wearing press-ons, which means I still need to have my nails done, because I've been getting done for decades. But I don't want them on that long, because, like, you know, I'm all out in nature and stuff now. Like, digging in the dirt. I cook a lot. I wash a lot of dishes. So my nails have never really lasted, and I'm pretty sure I spent over $100,000 on nails in my lifetime. I'm sure, easy. If I'm exaggerating a little bit, just flow with me. But yeah, now I just go get me some press-ons and I'll be fine. But anyway, I said that to say this. My mom was like touching the back of my hair because she had faded it, you know, down for me when I had the little pixie cut, because I just shaved my head off. There was no rubric. Like, I would just cut and gel down, you know, swoop. But it wasn't blended well. So I'm like, okay, my mama had her clipper. She got all her hair school stuff. So she was like, oh, I did that. I cut that. So she was touching the back of my neck. So then we get out to the car. My sister want to go get the car to get her, and I'm like bending down. I'm like, Tube, like, look. And she was like, oh my God. Like, I was like, touch it. And she touched my head, and my mama slapped the back of my neck, y'all. Like, and this lady called. I'm like, Mom, like, why would you? She had been wanting to slap my neck anyways. But yeah, that was. She slapped my neck. I told the lady, I said, you gonna call DC up on her? She's like, no, I'm not getting involved. I didn't see a thing. I'm like, somebody really caught my mama slapping my neck. I'm big 34. Like, she's big 50 something. Like, we out here just playing, having a good time. And my mama slapped my neck. So there's that hair story. Now to get into this podcast episode. I've had so many reservations on speaking on this topic because there's so many depths and layers to this topic that this podcast episode can literally be like a 3-day broadcast if I went into everything in detail. And I'm going to be led and highlight and go into what I feel is necessary and what God feels is necessary, what our ancestors feel is necessary. So with that being said, like I said, we are in the month of May, and just this month alone, there has been so many deaths and killings, globally, internationally, locally, you know what I'm saying? In our city of Sarasota, Bradenton, Palmetto, Ellington, Venice. And so I was led by God to bring awareness to a lot of things that I see via social media that are being posted about Sarasota as a whole. I'm from Sarasota. I was born here. I moved away, I believe, when I was like 4 or 5 and came back to North Carolina, New Bern first, then to Greensboro. We moved back here when I was 10 years old. Because my grandfather got sick, my granddaddy Shep. And I've been here ever since. I moved away for college twice, and then I end up being here. So I'm from Sarasota, Florida, off of Goodrich, off of Osprey, 32nd. That's where my grandma's was. Orange, you know, I had a grandma that lived on Orange. So I'm from here, and I love my city so much that I've explored all these new depths of our city and new ways to adventure and grow a love from where I was born. That matters. We were born here. People that's from now on, we was born here for a reason. We could have been born anywhere else. Our ancestors could have been from anywhere else, but mine are from here in New York City, Harlem, New York, and South Carolina and Georgia is where a lot of my ancestors are from. But I'm saying that to say, like, there's been a lot of death happening in our small community, and it's been happening for years. But right now it seems very heightened, right? And I'm a mom, so I understand on an emotional level. I'm an empath, so I'm feeling the heaviness of the city. I'm a healer. I'm feeling the hurt of the city. And God and my ancestors are speaking to me about this topic because I've seen a lot of people posting how Sarasota is cursed, right? And as someone that deals in magic, that's a big thing to say. You know, what we say definitely matters. And most of the people that I've been seeing saying this, nobody in particular, I can't even remember anyone's name because I'm not coming up against the comment or that you feel that way. I get why you may feel that way. But as mothers, as divine feminines, as the mothers of the earth, we especially need to be careful what we call cursed. especially when we still work here, we still live here, our parents are here, our ancestors have been here and are still very much here. Like I said, we work here, we make money, we send our babies to school here, and we're calling it cursed, right? Time after time, when these current events, these catastrophic events, these traumatic events happen, we're like, this place cursed, everybody pack your shit, like, it's time to leave. We're gonna have to change our outlook on our home and where we live, because we're the problem. We're very much the problem why it's coming across in such a negative light and in a negative place and in a negative way. Our placement about where we live is not great. And I'm speaking from experience because I used to have that same placement. When I lived in Gainesville, I was switching roommates. My best friend Victoria, I love you so much, lives in Las Vegas. And when I came back from Miami because my grandmother died, you know, we always wanted to be together. Me and Victoria and another former friend, her name was Jelon. We were always wanted to be together. Like, those are my college roommates that got me through the toughest time of my life. Like I said, my grandmother died when I was in college, and I came home. Then my best friend, sister, everything, Johnny, her grandmother died too, so we both came back from Miami. We had a time though, we had a blast. So anyways, like I said, I moved to Gainesville to be closer to my cousin Brittany, because we needed to get through that time together. It was a very tough time for her and I, because we grew up like sisters and we grew up sleeping in my grandma's bed. My grandma slept on the edge, Brittany slept in the middle, and I slept on the other side. And me and Brittany used to fight about who used to get to sleep next to grandma, and it was always her. And I was so annoyed with that, because I'm like, grandma, like, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, that was just a true, authentic moment. That's how we slept in the bed. My grandma raised us, like, she was everything to us. So, like I said, my roommate at the time helped me get through that. Her and my other roommate, Javon. And so, when I moved to Gainesville, her, Jelon, Shanari, and Victoria had visited for this one weekend in Gainesville, and they were like, we're gonna move together. So we were supposed to move together, and things happened in her life, with her house, with her home, you know, in Las Vegas with her mom and all these different things, that she wasn't able to come, and I wasn't able to afford it by myself to move to where we had picked out moving. We had picked out everything, we're ready to go. But life events happened, and at the time I did not understand. All I had knew is that I had finally got away from Sarasota, where I've been hearing all of my life that this place wasn't shit. You know, this place was a bad place to be. Like, if you could get out, stay out, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, my goal was to not come back here at all, no way, shape, or form, because of my perception of the town, the perception of the gossiping, the young girls dating dope boys, the killings, the homicides, the home invasions, and all of the things that I had already experienced before I was 18. I didn't want to come back. I was like, fuck that. Like, no, I did everything I needed to do to stay away, no matter what it was. And so I moved back, and I was so depressed, legit, just in the bed at my mama's house, like, I cannot believe I'm here. Like, I don't want to be here with these fucking lowlives. I don't want to be here with these people that didn't go to college. I don't want to be here I didn't want to be here. I thought that at that time I had got away and I had got out, because that's what was being taught to me, to get out, which isn't a bad thing. It all serves a purpose, and it all served a purpose, but it's the intent in which the reason we're getting out of something or somewhere. So I'm saying that to say I understand what the persona of our city is. Sarasota, Palmetto, Robonia. I understand what perception is, but we, as the natives, as the locals, as the spirit bodies and the spirit beings in this land, can't keep calling it cursed, can't keep looking at it negatively, can't keep speaking on it negatively, because we are hindering it with our words. We're cursing it. We're curses, right? So I feel like this city is really a beautiful, beautiful place. Like when you start to adventure, when you just shift your perception, and definitely when you heal. And I'm saying all that to say, like, I've lost a loved one this week. Well, two loved ones, really. Like I said, one of my best friends, my sister, is Johnny Hunter, and Mr. Johnny Hunter Sr. passed as well. So my two best friends, Victoria and Johnny, when Stanley died, when Tyrone died, were very much there for me. Victoria took a random quick ass flight to come all the way from Las Vegas to be here with me. Me and Johnny had seen each other for some time, and she's been through her own struggles within her body, where she wasn't projected to live, she wasn't projected to walk, but she came to my aid to be by my side. And so I will be with Johnny this weekend, supporting her with Mr. Johnny Sr.'s funeral. And then my cousin Mike Ford passed. That's my actual family. My grandma Nezzy and his mama, Auntie Dondra, that's their sisters. So it's definitely affecting me because it's happening. Then just recently, two young boys that I don't know that were brothers, are going through. One is still currently alive, I believe, but one of them passed. And like 2 or 3 other boys have died this week by gun violence. And that's why everybody is very vocal and very emotional. Naturally, all of these things are prominent, but we have to be vocal in the right way. We have to be vocal to where we're supporting and uplifting and encouraging during this rough time, especially if you're called to be vocal and you're called to be a warrior and you're called to speak out and you're called to profess with your mouth what the real truth is. And the real truth is that we've made our own city very sick, right? With flooding the city with fentanyl and different drugs that we know are harmful, different things that they're putting in, recreational drugs like Molly and ecstasy and weed, like I said, guns, different shootings and anger and fights and brawls. Like, we are very much all responsible for being involved in something around those areas at some point in our life. Nobody is a saint. But it's time to really be proactive about it and say different, speak different, do different. There's this guy in the neighborhood. You guys know him probably as Jabari. I was introduced to him as Jais. And we met last year on my dad's birthday. Me and my sister were walking the city barefoot, because that's how we ground and that's how we connect. And he saw us and he was like, "What are y'all doing?" And not because he was shocked, but he's very in tune spiritually. He has a garden in Newtown. I think he named it, but I call it the neighborhood garden because that's what he called it, the neighborhood. And he goes out and he picks up trash in the neighborhood very frequently because he loves his city. He's grown up in this city. He saw a lot of things. He's like an elder of the city, but he's conscious. He's God conscious and very aware of God and the way of being the Most High and the creator of all of this life that we do have, this city that we do have, this world that we do have. So he picks up trash in Newtown very frequently. And then early in my journey too, I realized the importance of taking care of our community, even with picking up trash and keeping things clean, because there are other areas and other neighborhoods in Sarasota that are very neat and clean and well kept, and there, people aren't pissing outside and throwing trash. Like, we're the only community that does that. Like, we're showing Sarasota energetically that we don't care about you because we littering, we going up in people's houses. You got kids vandalizing stuff, like all kind of things is showing this town. We'll call it our world. We'll call it our earth. that we don't care about it, but we want it to care about us. We don't want negative energy or violence or fighting or child molestation, perversion, all of that to get in the land and to be able to penetrate our land. But it does, because we're leaving it open. We're not leaving it sacred. We're not leaving it protected. We're not speaking highly of it. We're attracting these type of energies, attracting these type of things that get on our neighbors, that get on our children, and that are energetically passed along, because this is what's been the energy in the land for years, for decades. You know what I'm saying? We're not doing anything to shift, because what's happening in Newtown, yes, it's happening in other places that look like ours, in inner city places, the ghettos, they call it. Like, we gotta stop calling it that too. Like, ain't nothing about Newtown ghetto except for like the acts of being ghetto, which is a label, which is a term, but what's going on is really just, if you want to put a word on it, just barbaric, with just how many people are dying and senseless crimes are happening, and the pushing of, you know, things that's killing people, the man-made drugs that are killing people, the classification of drugs that are killing people. That type of stuff is going on, and we expect this place to look like Longboat Key or something, and it's not going to be that, because that's not what's being spoken to and penetrated into our city. We got to speak different. Just because your daddy sold dope don't mean you got to do it. Just because your daddy might have been a shooter don't mean you have to be that. Because the town is sick. It's really, really sick right now. So it's like a lot of things that I wanted to touch on was that we have to shift our perspective about what we call home, so we can get this negativity, this rain cloud that's been raining over our town for years, taking our sons, taking our daughters, taking our fathers, taking our mothers. We can do something different. You know what I'm saying? How we're going to do that is by touching and agreeing. There's a Bible verse about, you know, when there are two or more gathered, there I am in the midst. When it's a heightened level of consciousness, awareness, positivity, kindness, compassion, and love. The as below of that, because that's the as above, the as below of that is when two or more gathered, there I am in the midst. The enemy, the devil, the negative energy, the murderous spirits, the violent spirits, the warring spirits, the unhealed spirits of death, grief, shootings, abuse, domestic violence, anger, all of that stuff can like roam free too. Just like the love and light and kindness and stuff can. So what we're going to have to do as a society, as a people, as a person, as a community, is really kind of go to the root of this, which is in our homes, as we parent, as we mother, as we're growing, as we're healing and seeking help and getting counseling and speaking to people and going to God and getting into spaces to where we can really hear and think effectively, because all of this is generational curses of greed and, like I said, murder and fighting and territory and drug wars and the accessibility of not having resources for jobs and money and so many other things that we need to talk about first, that we need to deal with first, that we need to make more accessible first. And that's going to come to fruition by us actually talking about how can we help our sons stay off the street. How can we, as mothers and fathers and as co-parents and step-parents and bonus parents and grandparents, provide different outlets so we can start sending our kids out into the world financially successful and already comfortable, so they don't have to feel like they got to go out there and get it out the mud. So we don't have to be in spaces where we'll do anything for money, or get in situations because we needed money, or get into situations because that's all we know and that's all we saw. That has to stop being our excuse, because we're all gonna die off that way very quickly, and we're not gonna have any ancestry and lineage and legends to tell our children, because they're gonna all be erased and eradicated, which we already know society is trying to do anyway. So for one, the baseline of this is the power in our words. God source, the Most High created us in his image, just like him. We have the same abilities and capabilities. God cursed things. When there was like adulterers and fornicators and murderers and the world was being crazy, like he cursed the lands. He was like, yeah, nah, this ain't it, to like restart and start over. Like we have that same power and effect. That's what we're doing. We gotta speak healing. We have to speak love. We have to show acts of love. The elders in this community have to not just say like, I don't know what we could do. Like we still need you. And when I say elders, I mean the men and women of this city that's not taking anybody up under their wing and just being a bystander and not saying nothing. And kind of, we can't be like that. We've all been guilty of just being a bystander because we don't think that we're effective enough. But us as an individual, and us with somebody else, and somebody else, as we're talking and speaking and touching and agreeing, God will show up for us to help intervene, to give us those miraculous changes, to give us those miraculous investors, and put creativity in us so we can learn and generate money and be able to sustain ourselves in this very 3D world that's having us being taken out. We're literally assassinating our community as a whole because we're not going to the drawing board. So the word cursing, the generational cursing, what to do, like understanding the balance, the as above and the so below of this world is what's really going to help all of these issues that have been arising this last month on all these different levels in our city, in our state, in our country, in other countries. Like there's war everywhere. There's violence everywhere. There's heavy artillery and guns everywhere. Palestine, Congo, Ukraine, Gaza, Sudan, Ethiopia, Mali, Niger. All these genocides and rapes and killings of women and children, and things are happening everywhere. And it's time for the collective, it's time for us to be hyper focused on all of these issues because they're all just as important. But we're gonna have to start in our own house first. Have to start in our own house, have to start in our own backyard, have to start speaking different, have to start intervening in our children's lives and seeing what our children and our kids are up to and how can we help, and assisting them in their mental instability, assisting them with their goals and their dreams so they don't feel like they gotta go out there and get it. We're not surviving that way. We're not surviving by going out there and get it. We're harboring a lot of pain and loss and hurt. We have to get our people and our children in, whether it's you identify with going to churches or synagogues or healing circles, getting some type of spiritual assistance and some type of essence of who you need to go to, of a higher power when you're in these times of disarray and chaos. Have to have some type of foundation. Family have to start treating each other like family. We have to stop treating each other so bad. There's so much mean, negative energy here as to why we get so much mean, negative energy out of here. Sarasota's not cursed. Bradenton's not cursed. We're not up under a curse. Nobody was like bippity boppity boo and shit just happens like that. That's not real. That's not realistic. What's realistic is chain of events that are happening from other areas of life to where it looks that way. And so now our perception's off. So now we're saying it's cursed. We're saying it's cursed, it's cursed, it's cursed. And that's why it's so hard to leave. You're putting your own self up under a curse. Curses you can't get out of. Just to share a magic tip with you. There's not always a loophole. It's like the show Once Upon a Time. There was a town called Storybrooke, and if you were like birthed or born in that town, like you couldn't get out. It was under a curse. So that's why it's so hard for a lot of us that have been here who have never lived outside of Sarasota, outside of the 941, outside of Bradenton, outside of Ellington Palmetto. Like, we don't know what else is out there because there's this whole big world out there that people don't know about, and that's because it's like our perception is so small. We've only got it to here. This is all we think we have, and that's why I know I have a different appreciation for Sarasota because I was able to leave. I lived in North Carolina. I lived in Miami, in North Miami, Opelika. I lived in Gainesville. And I've been to Chicago twice, different parts of Chicago. So it's like, and of course I've been to Georgia, and but I've never been out of the country yet, and I'm going. But I know that even when I go outside of the country too, I will have a deeper appreciation for my home, or what I used to call the ghetto or the hood, when I see what other people go through in other countries and what they don't have and what we do have, and how we need to be more mindful of what we do have and more sacred and more intimate with what we do have. And that's our city, for real. It's not lost, y'all. It's not lost. And I'm not gonna say yet because I don't see it getting there. I've seen us really coming together and rehabilitating what we have, because this is all we got. That's us. That's us. That's me and you. So that's just to encourage you to just shift your perception on Sarasota. This is not to negate away from any type of grief anybody going through. It doesn't matter why. The why, that's the question we have for God a lot, but it doesn't really matter. It's how we're going to get through it and what was the root, what was leading up. Pay attention to the foundation things, the constants. Pay attention to the variables. Pay attention to the things that stayed the same and things that didn't. Pay attention to the same things that show up in the bloodline and same things that show up in death in your bloodline. Because I want everybody to focus on themselves and on their own lineage, their own bloodline. Because we got so many, everybody's worried about so many other things naturally. With the tone of this violent thing, we're real fixated on what happened with Cassie and P. Diddy. And I've never been a victim of domestic violence ever, but I know a lot about it. My mom was a victim of, I don't even want to say victim, because she's definitely conquered certain parts of that, but I also know transparently, I'm sure there are certain things that trigger her. That was hard. That was hard for me as Tyrone's daughter to stomach sometimes, being around him, knowing that happened. And so that caused a wedge in our relationship, because my mom never told me. Actually, other people told me, and then I just saw from his behavior, and then as I got older, I knew actual other people that he was not very nice to in a physical way. And I don't know what I can and can't say on this episode. I don't want it to get banned. Definitely not making light of it. It was domestic violence. So I'm trying to put out there in a way that I won't get banned, is that it matters what you do here on this earth and how it manifests in your children and what ends up being a result of who they are in the world. Because a lot of times domestic violence is a generational thing. Like if you saw it, was around it, and not just domestic violence, but any forms of abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, manipulation, control, if that was around in the house with kids, 9 times out of 10, you could see that show up in different areas of the kid's life as they transition from being an adolescent to being an adult. It so matters what we are doing. We're real fixated on what's going on with Cassie and P. Diddy, but we know we have been a victim, know a victim, done hid somebody out, or covered somebody that's created these type of actions, right? Where we're hurting people. So we're just in this big vicious cycle of hurt, because while we talking and speaking up on that, we're not talking and speaking up on it happening in our backyard. of it happening in our home, or of it happening in our homegirls' homes, or our co-workers. We're not intervening. And I'm not saying go out there. You can't make these people come up, speak up, stand up for themselves, because they're under a psychological spell and manipulation and control from the aggressor, right? People think it's so easy to lead and so easy to get out of these situations, when it's not always like that, and you don't know until you're in those situations. So we need to have a little more grace, because there are also a lot of people, a lot of males and females, shockingly, that are speaking about these situations in a light manner, or just taking it lightly, not being real graceful or merciful about these situations, when it could very easily be youth. None of these things that's happening is irrespective of a person. Nobody's exempt. So if you have been exempt like myself, I'm thankful. But that doesn't mean I can be like, oh, well, that shit never happened to me, so I wish a bitch would. Like, that's not even the right way to go about this, because almost the whole world didn't believe this girl when she came out and said these allegations. Everybody was like, oh, we gonna wait and see, or she shouldn't have been going with a man for money. That doesn't give her grounds to be beat the fuck up. That doesn't give anybody who's been assaulted, beat up, sexually assaulted, there's no grounds for it. We are what's wrong when we have that type of mentality. Shift your perception. Because if it was your child or your mother, you'd have a different outlook. That's how we show up in the world, as each other's children and as each other's mothers. Me right now, I'm being mothered by my children. I'm being mothered by my oldest daughter, Zanea. She's 23. I'm being mothered by my 9-year-old. I'm still being mothered by my mother. And then sometimes I mother her. That's how God got us set up, to where we have all these interconnections, and we're just like a big web to mirror to each other and highlight the areas in which need healing and in which need love and compassion. When you don't have that, that's when you have the negativity, the anger, the abuse, the violence roaming free in the land, because we're not promoting the other stuff. We're not showing compassion. We're not being merciful. We're so judgmental. We're so hurtful. We're in such competition. Like, it's just getting out of hand. That is why I'm having this episode. That is why I'm speaking on this topic. Take what resonates. But it's getting bad. And I love this place. That doesn't mean I'm going to stay here forever. I'm being called to other places and to migrate and to move. But this is my home. And I want it to still be my home. I want it to still be a foundation. There are some great people that I've met here in Sarasota. I'm going to pause right there. I'm going to move to athletes. I'm going to move to my kings, my boys, my sons, my princes, not princesses, princes, my men, my kings. We are, first of all, we're superhumans. We're super powerful. But my sons that are supposed to be the leaders of this country, this continent, these kingdoms, the head of the households, are dying off super quick. We have a lot of babies not making it. Some not making it till they're 20, right? We have to keep in mind, when we have a birthright and a gift, a God-given talent, a physical ability, like football players and basketball players and trainers and all of these great things that our boys are, hunters, providers. When you have a natural gift and ability, like athletes, I've heard many stories over the years of athletes going off to school and they come home and they never make it back into school. Like I said, I don't know a lot about this most recent story, but I do see that the boys were football players, right? And so then I'm seeing the post like, oh, when you send your kids to school, they don't need to come back home, yada, 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 yada. But they should be able to come back home. They should be able to come back home. That's not something we should feel normal saying, like, when you leave, don't come back here now. No, this is home. Where are they gonna go? For real. This is where you live too. Where you finna go for real? Because if you were gonna leave, you would have left already. If y'all was gonna leave, go. But this is still our home. I'm not saying you have to stay here. I'm gonna move too, for different reasons, to explore other spiritual places and come back and buy the block. That's my plan. Come back and just save my city in a way. But mommies, mothers, grandmothers, aunties, godmothers, we have to be in a space with our sons to nurture, right, and not enable. And when I say that, I'm saying that to say we can feel, sense, and smell the danger, the target on our sons' backs, right? Our brothers, our uncles, just because they're men, and especially black men. Direct threat because we talented. So we have to be extra praying and extra careful with our baby boys, right? That they don't be a product, sorry, y'all, my knees hurt. A product of or result of any type of anger, death, violence. We need to make sure we're always providing them an outlet to speak freely. That way their emotions can flow freely. Because we got too many gunmen responding out of unprocessed emotions and anger and not thinking how this is going to have a domino effect if I pull this trigger. There's counseling, there's ways to talk and sit and filter through what we know is not a right expression of emotion. It's not right how you go from 0 to 100 and you're ready to kill everybody. That's not normal. It's been made normal. We hear it in songs, we see it on TV, we've said it like, I added shit out. We shouldn't, no. That shouldn't be our first response. That's an unhealthy, imbalanced emotion of, bitch, I'm this mad about my fries, I burn everybody in fucking Burger King. That's not right. I feel like, I'm not gonna get a lot of pats on the back for saying this, but I feel like our sons, our boys, our men, emotional intelligence has been forgotten about by the mothers of this earth, by women. And we need to help them. We're good at that. God created us different in those ways. We're the divine mothers, we're the nurturers. You can come get your milk, mother's milk, and we don't provide that anymore because we got so many women that want to be tough, and to where, you know, our boys don't come to us for anything because they don't know how we're going to respond, because we've been responding, and a lot of anger and bitterness based on what has happened to us, which is a result of not healing. So it's like a domino effect. Because when you look at studies, when you look at prisons, when you look at people that have gone to jail for murder, there's always some unhealed instability that happened in our childhood trauma, or an event that was unfortunate that happened to them that they were never able to speak on. Like, these are the things that we have to focus on, moms on the earth. We gotta pay much more attention to our children, than we've been doing lately. We don't have no more grandmothers left. The grandmothers are getting younger and younger and younger and younger. So where we don't have grandmothers that are grandmothering. The elders aren't being elders. And this generation still needs guidance. Everybody's not being nice. Everybody's playing for keeps. Everybody is competing. And we're not parenting our children effectively in this new age, to where everybody got access to a gun, everybody got access to drugs, Everybody got access to pretty much everything, very destructive, and there are no boundaries. We're not setting up good boundaries with our kids, or what our children are into, what they're watching, where they're going, because we don't want to seem like control. Listen, there are borders for a reason. There are boundaries. There have been great walls built for reasons, and to keep certain things out of the land that y'all calling cursed. But we're letting these things in. We're letting these things happen. We're not speaking up. We're not speaking out. We're not being mindful. We're not being watchful. We're feeling like, well, I did all I can do. Like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing, because we have to continually coexist with each other. So I parent my children for the next generation and for everybody they gotta be around, so they can coexist with people and be nice and kind and show compassion. I went to Payne Park the other day. It's 7-year-olds cussing at the park and shit. Everybody just standing around like it's normal. These kids crazy. I can't say nothing to these kids. Okay, we can't. And we can't confront everything confrontationally, because some of these kids are operating, like I said, at a different levels of insanity based on things that have or have not happened to them. So, you know, you got a lot of children carrying around harmful things. And I see a lot of people beating up elderly and just doing crazy shit. I'm not saying I'm be confrontational with anybody and say everything into every child. I'm saying our prayers work. Our manifestations work. Getting together and going to healing circles work. Going to seek out therapy works. Detoxing, going away to different programs, whatever you need to do. Exhaust your resources. They're out there. I'll drop some in the description box below. But we gotta get help for real. The generational curses and mental illnesses and all of that needs to come to a stop, so our community can have a chance to revive itself. Our city is supposed to be able to self-heal, because we are supposed to be able to self-heal. If we're not doing that, then our city stays sick. As simple as that. And it can't just be one person trying to carry the city on that back. I'm not saying it's me. I know so many healers here. I know so many apostles, so many ministers, so many teachers, so many therapists, social workers, activists, philanthropists. I know so many here. We have to get together no matter what or who we identify as our savior, and get together and really figure this out. I'm trying to make sure I didn't forget anything. And it goes back to relationships, coexisting with sons and fathers, sons and mothers, mothers, daughters, mothers, fathers. Pay attention to those connections and how we're handling each other, because that shit manifests and that shit will bleed on other people. If God wanted us to exist alone, we would have each had our own planet. It would have been 1 billion planets in the solar system, and we would have just been there all by ourselves. We have to work together here. We have to stick together here. We have to get rid of the ideologies of being a street nigga and a hustler, and I'm gonna get it out of them. Like, get rid of that sorry ass shit. It's an excuse. Because we all have discernment in our body. We all have an intuition that tells us no. Don't do that. We choose not to listen, and then we blame the city. The city is a living, breathing organism. Like every tree, every piece, it can hear us. Your children can hear you. Your unborn child can hear you. We need to watch what we're saying and make sure we have the proper actions to follow, like Ice and going to pick up trash in your neighborhood. We got to clean this city up for real, clean up the streets. And that starts with something as small as picking up the fucking paper. Stop letting y'all kids throw shit out the window and vandalize shit. Say something. Do something. Tell them how that hurts our city on a bigger level. We think that shit's normal. It's not normal. You can't ride to no other city in a high dollar ass, neighborhood and see trash. They'll find your ass. The HOA, we hate HOAs, but they there for a reason, to bring some structure. Cut your grass. Pick up the trash and get trash to the side of the road. Why do your trash smell like that? Bleach the inside of your canisters. You know better, you do better, you live better, period. Don't y'all want to live better? I love this city. It's so beautiful. So many hidden gems, so many places of relaxation and restorations that's down the road. We have access to beaches, black people, minority people. We're not living in those times where we couldn't go. We can go, we can do, we can explore, we can be creative, we can have that too. Y'all don't want shit for real. Y'all don't want to heal for real. Y'all want to talk about it. Everybody want to meet me at the park and sit Indian style, but not really. I can tell by how some of y'all post. I done followed a lot of y'all because it's just sick. The shit y'all in agreement with. But want to call the town cursed. No, baby. It's you. It's your offspring. It's your lineage. It's your bloodline. And only you can call that curse up off y'all life. You in agreement with God and speaking life and vitality will call that up off of you. Get that up off of you. Will get that funk, that rain cloud up off of y'all bloodline. Up off of my bloodline. I don't know, y'all. I pulled some cards this morning at about 6:30 a.m. and I pulled some when I got home to see what the energy of this episode was going to be, to see what the energy of my ancestors was, well, what they had for me, what we were talking about, to sum this up, to bring this in. And I pulled out of my mystical wisdom. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, I'm drinking water. Pineapple water. And it what came out is new beginnings, animal bond, unicorn, and celebration. Right? So new beginning states begin your new life, and that's very much the avenue and the intention of this podcast. Your new life, your new perception, your new outlook of where you are, where you live, what you want, and how you want to show up in the world. That has to happen. Not now, but right now. The shift has to happen. The higher calling, the higher consciousness, the responsibility and demand on your spirit to be a better person. Not just for you, for your lineage and everybody that you have to coexist with in this world. Exploring the depths of who you are and how you really see your life. It says animal bond, standing up for all animals. And to me, that correlates to all animals, all creation, the plants, the birds. Like, you know, my daughter just told me a story last night. She was going to Walmart. She's here visiting. And, you know, she was stopped because there was this turtle in the road and it was covered in seaweed, sea moss, or whatever. Algae could have been. And she was saying how, like, this, you know, she was stopped to where cars couldn't get by, so she, you know, they wouldn't hit this turtle. But those little small acts of kindness, like, God created that being, and she was being honked at and whatever by this car, like, being very aggressive with her, all because she was trying to let the turtle pass the road. Like, I do stuff like that. But we have to have some type, we're very inhumane right now. We're called human beings, and I don't know why, because we act crazy, inhumane. Like, we have to have a care for nature. A care for nature meaning, like I said, picking up trash, not leaving your house trash, keeping your grass up. We need all of that to breathe. I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but in Sarasota, they count down more and more trees. Y'all taking care of y'all trees, y'all planting stuff, the air's, you know, feeling better and smelling better, and that's gonna help us stay alive and well in a world where we're very much being poisoned by our own country with the things they let get imported in this country and package it and say it's food, and make it unaffordable to eat what's really the good stuff we're supposed to be eating. We'll talk about that another day. But we have to have a real care for that so we can stay alive longer and don't get sick as often and get these random diseases and all that. That starts with taking care of all living things. Take that how it resonates. Go as far as you need to go and pace yourself. Unicorn came out with Invite Serendipity. Serendipity with this unicorn out here is letting me know that as a collective we need to, like it says, invite that type of energy in our homes, in our children's, in our lives, and in our city of serendipity, zen, peace, positivity, activism, adventure, lighthearted fun. Like those type of things have to be invited in this territory for it to prosper and live and not die. And then I have celebration out here, let go and have fun, which is the ultimate goal, which is to enjoy this life and celebrate this life and celebrate our children and their accolades and their accomplishments and ours too, and really explore our creativity in the depths of who we are to assist someone else. We're so selfish these days. We're very, very selfish. And that's an action or an emotion that shouldn't free flow as careless as it does. We don't care about shit no more. Even though we say we do, we're not showing the action of really caring because of the hate and the judgment that is in the city. Because if we were really focused on our own serendipity, our own serenity, our own happiness, our own climb, our own goals, our own ambitions, and really celebrating how we're supposed to, a lot of this stuff wouldn't happen. For real, for real. It wouldn't be able to energetically, it wouldn't be able to spiritually happen if we were focused on us like that. If we was really loving thy neighbor. And then I was gonna pull some healing cards. And then we're gonna close out because this has been an hour long. I do thank everybody that has stayed on and watched. My intention was not to offend anybody. We're in a space of grief right now, and I'm sending love and light to every family. My family, to anybody that has lost someone a day ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm not going to sit here and say it gets easier. But you're going to have to seek some type of counsel from a higher source, a trusted source, a professional source, to get us through these things, because they will manifest in an ugly way if we do not. The message that's coming from my shamanic healing oracle is masculine energy and unlimited possibilities, ending with creativity. That masculine energy, talking specifically to my men, there has to be a balance. You're going to have to let some type of feminine energy mother you and nurture you, even if it is you. Men, you have the ability to tap into your divine feminine, to finish mothering yourself if you don't have a mother, to nurture certain parts of your childhood trauma that is unresolved, to nurture grief and loss and going without and struggling and poverty, whatever it is. There has to be a balance. There's too much masculine energy from men and women in the earth as a whole, as an entirety. As a whole, the balance is off. Everybody's up here being like a super like aggressive, is vibrating so high, and it should not. Unlimited possibilities. This tree coming out here, that's roots, that's foundation, that's confirmation. There's so many unlimited possibilities in this land. We know some heavy hitters. We know some very, very bright people. There are real legends here. Real legends here. And I like to think I'm one of them, or I'm going to be. Find out what your soul purpose is. Find out what the possibilities are for you. How to make this town better. How to be proud of this town. How to tell your kids where you from. I be so, listen, when I went to Miami and again, so they're like, where you from? Sarasota. Sarasota. Soda. We different here. We different. We different. I know some of the best scholars here too. The best athletes. Like, we really like that here. So let's be like that. Let's not leave our youth to just die off. Let's intervene. Let's mother and nurture each other. Let's start speaking again. Let's start saying, hey, stop with the looks, okay? Stop with the stank looks. Girls, deal with your stuff, women. Deal with your stuff. Because all this women hate is crazy. All the looks that me and my daughter was getting at Mike's candlelight was crazy. Because what are y'all upset about? That we've figured out how to heal, and that we're happy, and that we're full of light. We care about our appearance. We look good. We exude good energy. Now we... what? The possibilities are endless what we could do here in this territory. It's time to start doing it. It's time to launch the creativity, launch the nonprofit, write the book, write the movie, create the thing. Like, it's time to do that. It's time to do that with this creativity coming out here. Okay? A soul lesson that I have out here is trust, dealing with that root chakra, which is dealing with home, what feels like home, our foundation, what resonates as home, and then self-devotion, third eye chakra. Self-devotion is tune and focus into self, turning your eyes inward, that eye, trusting what's going to be good for you is good for you, trusting your instincts, not just surviving but living, self-care, self-awareness. I just want to say thank you to the collective and everyone who watched this episode. I hope it impacted you in a way of awareness, healing, and love. Praying for every family. Thank you to my spirit guides and ancestors that assisted me in this episode. I ask that you assist me in sending positivity to everyone that is watching. Love and kindness and reassurance that God is very much real, very much here to assist us, as we are all here to assist and mirror each other. The spirit of destruction, abuse, sexual assault, sexual abuse, rape, molestation, violence, gun violence, fighting, quarrelsome, be uprooted out of this earth, be uprooted out of our children, and be uprooted out of ourselves. Let it be removed so we can rehabilitate ourselves, our souls, our spirit, our city, our country, our state in this world. So be it. Amen. Thank you for watching this episode of Setting the Atmosphere, the podcast with Hippie Girl TK. My name is Takira Jenkins, Sakoma Anyi, Unicorn Hippie, however you identify with me. But I'm not going to shut up about these things. I'm not going to hide my light. I'm not going to hide my face and my crown. behind no box. I have something to say. I've been called to say. I've been called to do. I've been called to heal. I've been called to share a journey, and that's just what I'm gonna do. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. Even when I go somewhere, I'll be very much here. Omnipresent. I love you guys. Thank you for watching.